I'm Emily from GoWP. If you don't already know me, which I guess probably most of you guys do, but if not, welcome. Happy to have you here, and happy to have those of you who do know me here as well, of course. We're here for today's webinar with Rafi Glantz on web accessibility using AI and automation. Rafi works for AccessiBe, and we'll learn more about them today as well. Really quick, I just want to say a couple of words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. And also just to kind of give you a refresher, because we have launched a couple new things in the past few months, so that's exciting. At GoWP, we are a team that is devoted to helping agencies grow by providing exceptional outsourced WordPress services. Agencies that partner with GoWP are able to focus on the low-touch, high-value work that helps them grow because they can depend on GoWP to take care of the high-touch, low-value work that disrupts their day. So that's things like website maintenance, never-ending content edit requests that come in from clients at all times of day and night. So those are the things that we've handled for agencies since our beginning and continue to as well with our 24/7 content edits plan and our maintenance plan as well. But we have also recently launched a couple new services. You may have seen that we launched our new dedicated developer service. It is a service we developed hand in hand with our customers. And in case you missed any of the emails or posts about that, we developed dedicated developer because we know that hiring's hard. We hire developers at GoWP, so we've been through it. We know that experience. You can hire someone who ends up ghosting you, or you hire somebody with the wrong skills that you actually needed. Hiring someone who becomes toxic and doesn't work with your team well, or hiring someone who just doesn't share your priorities, which can a lot of times be the case with, contract workers and freelancers where they have a lot of projects going on and they're not prioritizing your own. So we're getting rid of all the struggles and mistakes, and this service places one of our full-time developers directly on your team to work on any WordPress tasks, and they will work in your tools on your schedule 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. The launch has had such a fantastic response, actually, that you may have also seen that we sold out. So we have been working really hard over the past few weeks on hiring and onboarding more developers, and we are getting ready to reopen that launch to the public. And there will be a price increase. So our promotional launch price will no longer exist, but we are offering to our community the chance to lock in that launch rate. So even if you're not ready to hire a developer right now or bring one of our developers onto your team, you might want to in 2021 or in January, February, whenever, you can lock in that promotional launch price. So I'll put the link to those things in the chats, so you can put your name on the list just to launch in that rate. No obligations. Just get your name on the list, and that's fine. So that's dedicated developer. I did also want to say that creating a GoWP partner account is absolutely free and gets you access to all sorts of resources to help grow your agency. Currently in our knowledge base, we have landing page templates to help you sell care plans, a maintenance schedule lead magnet, and a landing page template to help generate leads with that maintenance schedule. These are all available for free in our knowledge base. All you have to do is create a GoWP account, and you can check them out and download them and use them as you wish, along with a lot of other documentation to help with your maintenance and care plans and that sort of thing too. So it's pretty cool. We've worked hard on it, so I'd love to hear feedback and have you all check it out. But that's everything on my end. So if you have any questions about partnering with GoWP or anything I just talked about, how we can help your agency, feel free to email me at emily@gowp.com. And that's it. If you're watching this in Zoom right now and you're not already a member of the Niche Agency Owners Facebook group, I do suggest, I would love to have you join our Facebook group. We post all of this sorts of information in there as it comes up, and we just have a great community there. We do weekly happiness hour calls. Rafi's been on one. It's a lot of fun. So I'd love to have you there too. Regarding the webinar, I'm going to be watching the chat, so any questions or comments or anything like that, throw them up in the chat and I'll get them to Rafi. So that's fine. If anyone wants to go ahead and say hi in the chat, I see Kaylin's watching. Hey, Kaylin. So go ahead and test out the chat now, and we'd be happy to make sure that's working. So let's get to why we're here today then. Rafi Glantz, hey, and his buddy Chewbacca back in the background.
That's right.
I love it.
Thank you.
Rafi is the Strategic Partnerships Manager for AccessiBe, which is a revolutionary AI company enabling all people to access the internet equally and without restrictions based on disability. In his past, Rafi has been a VP of sales, an advisor, and a social media marketing manager, and he works to bring all of that knowledge and history to bear on all of his current ventures. So Rafi, I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the past few months with some of the things we've done, and I'm really looking forward to this webinar, so welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I feel the same. And I will add, for anybody listening, those happiness hours are really full of happiness, so you should come. I thought, you know, it's going to be a work thing. You have to just be nice and polite. It's actually really interesting. So give it a try.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm going to get started with a quick presentation. We'll run right through it. We're going to save the questions to the end because that's the format of the webinar. And also it's easiest that way. We do tend to answer a lot of them throughout the process. And after the quick presentation, we're going to do a live demonstration and then we'll go over to questions. So let me share my screen, and Emily, I'm sure you'll let me know when you can see the presentation. It has some guy's face on it. I don't know who that is.
Yep, there you are. There he is.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and mute myself because I do have 2 young children eating lunch in the background, so I don't want to interrupt with any of that noise.
Fair enough. No worries. I'll tell all the coworkers to be quiet too. So what is web accessibility, first off? It's a set of rules, behaviors, code standards, and design guidelines meant to allow people with disabilities to effectively use websites. And effectively is different than equally. So for example, on a website like Netflix, I can't give someone who's fully blind an exactly equal experience to somebody who can see. At the same time, I can give them the ability to extract all the same information and perform all the same actions. I also like to mention on this slide, even though for most of us, the first thing we think of when we think of people with disabilities using the internet, we think of someone who's blind. There are a lot of disabilities that can impact how you use the internet. Number one, and first and foremost in my mind, is epilepsy, because that is the only disability that if you're not accessible and you don't have the adjustments on your website for that, you could potentially harm or even kill a person, because if you have animations or flashing lights, those can be very harmful to people with epilepsy. On top of that, it's not just for people who consider themselves to have a disability, although according to the CDC, 26% of American adults are living with a disability today. There's also people who are aging into disabilities. There's a very large population of baby boomers who, like my own grandmother who passed away not so long ago, loved online shopping, didn't have the best vision, but certainly wouldn't have considered herself vision impaired, would have loved the ability to change things up, make the fonts bigger, make it more comfortable for her to use. And you'll see exactly how we do that a little bit later. And again, even though that person might not consider themselves disabled, it helps. AccessiBe is a great way, and accessibility in general is a great way to let everybody have the most comfortable experience possible on your website, and of course, buy things from you, which is very important to all of us with online stores. The laws that are relevant in the United States right now are ADA Title III and Section 508. Section 508 refers to people who are either government agencies or working with government agencies, and then Title III is everybody else. Now, there was a lot of confusion up until 2018 with Title III because there is no standard. See, in every other law, including 508, AODA, EN 31549 in Europe, they all reference the WCAG 2.0 or 2.1. Of course, 2.1 is newer than 2.0. As the standard for compliance. The WCAG is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's created by the W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium, and they're the only internationally recognized experts on this matter. So those are the only set of regulations you're really going to find that's trusted. Unfortunately, the ADA did not specifically refer to anything. And so in 2018, the Department of Justice released a ruling stating that all websites are considered places of public accommodations, which is the key phrase in the law that means that they must be made accessible. Good news, bad news, they didn't say it's the WCAG that needs to be the standard, but every single ruling out of a US court has said that. And so it is well accepted practice in the United States that in order to be accessible online, you need to comply with the WCAG 2.1 AA level of compliance. You have A, AA, and AAA, and I think of it as A is not enough, AA is perfect, and AAA is not feasible to do. Final thing here is that we are seeing a lot of progress towards more stringent laws going forward. In Canada, AODA is coming into effect in literally 1 month, 31 days, January 1st. Any organization larger than 50 employees in the province of Ontario that is not accessible can be fined 100,000 Canadian dollars a day directly by the Canadian government. Now, it's Canadian dollars, so not real money. But that being said, it is very, very significant for two reasons. One, it's a financial cost that's going to you. And two, it's the government directly imposing it. So nobody has to sue you. Nobody has to complain. If somebody at that government office identifies your website as not compliant, you're getting a bill or a fine, however you want to call it. In the US, there was one proposal by a couple of Congress people to have a more stringent web accessibility law that specifies the WCAG as the standard. Although given the current political situation in America, I don't know what's going to happen next. So hopefully that's something that gets passed in the next cycle. This is a little bit of information about the lawsuits that stem largely from this confusion about what really is the law, what is the standard. Unfortunately, there has been a massive uptick in lawsuits over the last few years with web accessibility. We at AccessiBe have actually handled more than 2,500 demand letters for our clients in the last year alone. And we're estimating that it's well over 150,000 demand letters sent to businesses since 2017. I can tell you from personal experience, I think the last time I left my house was because of this lockdown was in February. I was at an event giving a presentation in Las Vegas, and someone interrupted me saying that they actually got a demand letter for one of their businesses. They happen to own 60 locations of a payday loan operation. They got one letter asking for $10,000. It's something called a demand letter, where they claim that something is not accessible in your website, and they ask you to fix that website or pay them a settlement, or both. This guy decided he'll pay the settlement and hopefully it'll go away. The next day, he got 59 more letters. And that is just one example of how these things go. That guy ended up having to pay $600,000 in settlement. Regardless of who is sending you this letter, whether it's a law firm that is well known for sending these out and it's their business, or it's an individual with a disability who just wants to use your website, the best solution is to be compliant from the get-go. Get compliant now so that you're not going to encounter any of these issues. On top of that, AccessiBe remediates any website within 48 hours or less. And so a demand letter has a 14-day minimum in most states time period that they have to give you to remediate the problems. And so if you come to us within 10 days of getting that letter, you're generally going to be fine. The next thing, this is a little bit of a market comparison of what's out there. In our minds, there's three main types of web accessibility you can do. You have basic automated tools like UserWay or WP Access. Those generally meet 5 to 15% of the actual requirements for accessibility. They don't go deeply enough into the alt text. They don't change the tab order. They don't do the actual hard work of accessibility. The manual services, on the other hand, can do that. But, and I won't say anything negative about people who do manual accessibility work, because it's great that they're putting in the time and effort to try and be accessible to everybody. The problem is that for most businesses, that's not feasible by any means because of the time cost and the money cost. The time cost is, if you're a skilled developer, you're going to be spending hours and hours on this all the time. It's not just a one-time cost either. Every time you update your website, you have to update the accessibility as well. And so that can get very tedious and very expensive, or both, or you don't do the upkeep and then your accessibility drops very quickly. So unless you're a large organization, it can be very, very tricky to take on a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cost every year. That's actually the reason that AccessiBe was created, because we realized quickly that until web accessibility is automated, simple enough for the average business owner to understand and install on their own, and affordable, it's not going to be anywhere near widespread. And so that's exactly what we created. AccessiBe is simple enough that a business owner can come onto our website without ever interacting with me or any of my coworkers, buy a license, install AccessiBe, and be compliant. Simple as that. It's a set it and forget it solution. So once it's installed, there's nothing else that you have to do. And starts at $490 a year, which is, in comparison to everything else out there, quite affordable. And for most small businesses, not an issue at all. We are the #1 fully automated web accessibility solution for this. We're right now just coming up on 70,000 customers and users. And we work with people with disabilities on an ongoing basis to develop this product. So we have people who have cognitive disabilities, who are blind from birth, who are more recently blind, and we work with all of these people to try and understand how we can optimize the product. A little bit of company information on us. We recently partnered with K1. They're a well-known tech investment firm, and they give us great connections in that space and in the US. We also work with DigitalOcean to make sure that all of our hosting and all of our security is very, very top-notch. Our founders were in the 30 under 30, and now they're being featured in a bunch more things. So things just keep getting more exciting. I love to use this slide, even though it's a little out of date, because you can see it says 50,000. It really should say 70. But what I love to say here is whether you're Burger King or Burger Joint on the corner, you get the same service from us at the same price. And I can say that because Burger King is actually one of our first customers. In Israel, we were on their ordering machines in store, and we have other burger restaurants too, a lot of them in Miami in particular. This is the accessibility statement that I mentioned before. This just goes into detail about what's been done to make your website accessible, and it doubles as a certification of performance. You'll find it on your website, and we'll also email it to you once your website is accessible. So that's actually when we start the shot clock, and I'll talk about the shot clock in a second. But the shot clock is basically, we have to scan your website on an ongoing basis, because I mentioned before that with manual remediation, you have to continually check in on it and update it. AccessiBe does that automatically. So every 24 hours or every update, whichever one comes first, we'll do a full scan. And that shot clock starts the moment that you receive that accessibility statement by email for the first time. These are the monthly compliance audits that you'll receive, and they're actually separate from the statement. We created our own tool. It's called ACE. I like to call it the Automated Compliance Expert, but that's not the official name. It is what we believe to be the most advanced scanner on the market today, and it will give you a 10-page PDF report documenting the accessibility of your website and pointing out any errors that might be there in red. Not only does it tell you what's wrong, it'll show you exact code snippets of what's wrong, so you can very easily go in and fix things that you might have missed before. This is our litigation support package, and it's unfortunate that it has to be used, but it is included with every single purchase at no additional cost. And like I said before, we've handled over 2,500 demand letters for our clients in the last year. This is how. If, God forbid, somebody gets a demand letter, they'll let us know immediately. And then we'll first off do a compliance audit. We're going to check, because the demand letter is making a claim that a particular part of this website is not accessible. We're going to check it out. If it's accessible, which it usually is, we're going to tell them that. And then we're going to send over a compliance overview, because a lot of times people will send a demand letter because they don't understand how to use the system properly. So the compliance overview explains everything about the system. Then we'll send over a failures request master. The failures request master is a big spreadsheet where they can log and document perceived accessibility failures, because if there is a real problem, we want to know about it yesterday so we can fix it 2 days ago. We'll also resend you your accessibility statement so you have it handy, and we'll send you our suggested response, which is basically a form letter. It's something of a comment on the state of the market being what it is, but in our experience, about 0.2% of these demand letter senders even answer our suggested response, because they understand very quickly that this website is accessible and we can stand behind that, and they would be better served by going on to the next victim, which again is not a great way to do business, but unfortunately that is the situation right now. This is the installation process. It's super easy. We just have one line of JavaScript code. And by the way, we don't have a unique identifier. So if you want to use the same exact code across multiple websites, you can. The only thing is you will need separate licenses for them, but you can use the exact same code. About 2 minutes after installation, sometimes a little bit less, our interface will appear on your website and function. But over the next 48 hours or less, our AI will do all of the scanning work that it needs to do. The contextual understanding engine will go to work. And then once you receive your statement of accessibility, everything should be good to go. And that's when we start our shot clock of every 24 hours or every update. We do that full scan to make sure that the statement of accessibility that we sent you is still valid. This is a little bit of the differentiation between the two main parts of our interface. You have sort of like the easy, simple color changes, and then the much more complicated stuff on the back end. The color changes are sort of I'm not a developer, but anybody who knows CSS will tell you it's pretty easy to change the background color or the font size or stop animations or pull up a virtual keyboard. The much more difficult part is our contextual understanding engine that's been exposed to hundreds of millions of data sets now, and will actually be able to look at a website. So let's say it's installed on a candy store, it'll be able to figure out, oh, this store sells candy. So if I see X image, I should associate that already with candy store. Same thing for an automotive dealership, motorcycle dealership, any other kind of website that you might have. We also have OCR and Iris AI technology, and those are image recognition, and they also, OCR is optical character recognition. So it'll look inside an image and not only identify the objects, but also identify the words and numbers so that it can write down a detailed description. The last thing I'll say about these descriptions is that there is a back and forth between how descriptive you really want to be. Because of course, in our minds, we want a very descriptive image. We're thinking, look, this guy can't see it. I want to give him as much information as I can. The alternative, though, is from their perspective, they're listening to the entire website, and people who are blind are generally very, very smart people, and they don't need to be told things twice or three times. In fact, we recently had a demonstration here with a brilliant gentleman named Adi, who happens to be blind from birth, and he used a screen reader and sort of demonstrated for our employees how he does it. He had to slow that down to 40% of the talking speed that he usually uses so that we could understand what was being said. So given that, we try to find a happy medium between two, it's just detailed enough. We don't want to give too much. We don't want to give too little. If you ever find an alt text, by the way, that you think is insufficient or overly sufficient, you can add your own alt text. We actually don't override any accessibility work that you've already done. We just put stuff in where it doesn't exist already. This is what the interface looks like. And I just want to point out here that we have these profiles. The profiles serve two purposes. One is they make it super clear to everybody, hey, I have epilepsy. Oh, epilepsy safe profile. Great, super easy. You don't need to learn a macro. You don't need to figure out how it works. It's very 1, 2, 3, very easy. The other reason is it makes it extremely clear to any lawyer or any person who might want to send you a demand letter who's looking at your website, oh yes, they address this, they address that, they address this, they address that. Because we don't want there to be any kind of confusion. That is the end of the presentation. Emily, unless you have any objections, I'll move right over to the live demonstration.
Yeah, sounds good.
Beauteous. Okay. So let me know when you can see new summer collection.
It's up. I'll just take this moment to say that we did get one question asking if this was going to be recorded. And the answer is yes. So you'll be getting that recording. If you've registered for the webinar, you'll be getting that in your email tomorrow. And if you're a member of the Facebook group, you can watch this about 5 minutes after we end it. It's always in there. So you can see it there too.
Perfect. So first things first, here's our icon in the bottom left. And I want to point out it has a check mark on it. Why does it have a check mark? Well, I visited this website before, and we actually use local storage, not cookies, so we don't impact GDPR, don't collect any PII. I know we're going to get those questions. So we are not impacting any data protection statutes at all. But if somebody actually has one of these disabilities and they visit your website more than once, they shouldn't have to toggle their settings again. We should remember the settings for them. So that's what we do. And then I, of course, have to click the button that says reset settings. A few of the initial options I'm going to show you are just fairly basic things. We have a readable font that switches the font to the default on the person's computer. We have a text magnifier. You can highlight titles and links. You just draw circles around them and make them easier to see. We can adjust height and spacing, font sizes. All of this stuff is customizable to your heart's content. The other thing that I want to point out here is colors. Specifically, there's a debate that goes on a lot that says, oh, well, the only way to really be accessible is manually. My issue with that is that whatever colors you choose, whatever color contrast you choose, if it's the same for everybody, there's somebody out there that it won't be accessible for, because not everybody who's colorblind is colorblind the same way. So in our mind, the best way to give people the best experience for them is to let them customize it to their own needs, regardless of whether or not they may actually have visual impairment. So we allow them to change any color they might need to change and customize the rest of the page to their needs. I'll also point out we have a hide images here. This is really convenient for people who have ADHD and other attention issues because it just lets them focus on what's being written down. We also have a reading mask that does a similar thing. The stop animations is super important. So I'll point out here now the profiles. Seizure safe profile is of course the first one because as we mentioned, it's the only one that you can really seriously harm a person. We immediately stop this animation and we tone down the colors so that it's not going to be so bright and dangerous for them. The alternative, the exact opposite, is the visually impaired profile where we make everything bigger and brighter. Then you have a cognitive disability profile. It helps with reading and focusing. So it turns on some of those features that we saw before. And then the ADHD friendly profile. It does, again, it's helping people with ADHD, but it may very well be that if you have ADHD, you might not like our ADHD friendly profile and you might want to do the reading mask and hide images at the same time. That's why we have all these options there so that everybody can customize it to their needs. Finally, we have blind users and keyboard navigation. And before I show you that, I just want to point out a couple of things here. We have done absolutely no accessibility work manually on this website because it's a demonstration website. So when I inspect this image right here, no alt text, not acceptable, right? Not good, not accessible. So what do? Well, I hit Alt-1. Why Alt-1? The reason is if a blind user enters our website, they have no way of turning on this blind user's keyboard navigation profile with their mouse because, of course, they can't use a mouse. The good news is, though, they have to have a screen reader, and that screen reader is active from the moment they turn on the computer, not just the moment they go into a website because, of course, they're blind the whole time. And so we actually work with their existing screen reader. This is a question I get a lot. Some services that are similar to ours offer a built-in screen reader. We don't do that because it can interfere, and usually does interfere, with the one that the person is already using. And so we want to integrate as smoothly as possible into their existing technology. So we detect a screen reader the moment they enter a website, and we'll send them a message, a voice note saying, hi, you've entered an accessible website. Please hit Alt+1 to turn on accessible mode. So that's what I did here. And now when I'll just close this so we can see better. When I inspect this image, I get extra 30% off, shop now, woman in long sleeve shirt, folding clothes. And that's pretty descriptive. If I do this one, I get woman in black tank top with arm tattoos. Now, again, back to the descriptiveness. We could be more descriptive. We could describe the tattoos in detail. We could describe her skin tone. We could describe lots and lots of different things. But we think that this is a good happy medium. And again, if there's any kind of alt text that you want to customize, please go ahead and customize them. It's also a nice SEO thing to do. So I would never discourage anyone from doing their own alts. Now, another thing I want to point out is the keyboard navigation, because that's super important. We actually did a 10 million research paper on 10 million web pages that we scanned to look at what are the most commonly accessible and inaccessible elements on web pages. We found that images actually about 52% of the time are accessible. We suspect for SEO and not so much for accessibility. Some of the elements that are less accessible, though, are pop-ups, drop-downs, and forms. And if I start tabbing through this, you'll see that we automatically open this drop-down. If that drop-down doesn't automatically open from tabbing, then it's not accessible because a person might not understand that it's there. If I open this pop-up right now, a little window in the bottom right has to open saying pop-up panel, press escape to close, navigate with tab. And you'll see here it says playing to screen readers. If that doesn't come up, somebody using a screen reader might not know that they're in a pop-up. If they don't know they're in a pop-up, they might have to shut down their computer just to exit your website, which is an incredibly frustrating experience, terrible UX for them, and they probably won't come back and buy something from your website. With this, they can navigate really easily, they can escape, they can continue to tab through whatever they want to tab through and buy something from our store. So that is more or less the demonstration. I'll point out just a couple of last things. The statement of accessibility that we mentioned 7 times before is right here, front and center. You'll be able to customize where you want any kind of complaints or questions to go. So you can send them directly to us. You can also take them first. And of course, this entire interface can be customized. So you can change the color, you can change the icon, you can change the shape of the icon, the location of the icon, the offset, anything you want, pretty much anything except for the actual functionality. The functionality does have to remain the same, otherwise you wouldn't be accessible. I think that's about it. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we did get one question in. How does AccessiBe handle age gate overlays?
Age gate overlays?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly if the asker could clarify a little bit, but my understanding was kind of age issued accessibilities, possibly asking. No. Sorry, asking. So when there's an overlay that asks if, like, for example, for an alcoholic beverage website, are you over 21 or 18 or wherever you are? How does AccessiBe handle that?
So it would function on it. If you're, let's say, somebody who's living the disability like blindness, and you're trying to pass that, AccessiBe would be able to function before anybody clicks on anything, and you would be able to interact with it, turn on accessible mode, have that read out to you, and then click yes, I'm over 21 or 18, or no, I'm not.
So the full flow would be through AccessiBe.
Yes.
That would cover all of it. Cool.
100%. It's the same thing with password protected websites, where they're saying, oh, the full website doesn't appear until they've entered a login and password. The same principle applies. AccessiBe will be able to function before and after.
Okay, great. I think that answers the question. Let me know if not, whoever asked. And yeah, we haven't had other questions. Oh, here we go. So will you be offering agency plans in the future? There is an agency partners page, part of AccessiBe, right? Is that correct?
There is. I'm wondering, I apologize. I guess it was not in that presentation. We do have a partners program. Our standard partners program begins with a 20% commission or discount, depending on how you want to go about it. You can pass on the discount to your customer, or you could, of course, take a commission. We have quite a few materials available, actually, for partners. We recently started a partner success program, so that we'll provide you with all different kinds of emails, further information about web accessibility, proof, blog posts, articles. We'll also work with you. We're just like we're doing right now. We're very happy to participate in webinars, to give presentations, even to speak with customers directly. Our goal is to make the entire internet accessible by 2025, and we are not going to do that alone. So we are trying to get as many partners as we can, of course, but I will also say that we want to commit ourselves to partners who commit to us. So when you come in and you say, hey, I want to be an accessible agency, I want to make all my websites either accessible or make it understood that this agency makes accessible websites now, we treat that very favorably, because you have the same mindset as us. On top of that, we do, of course, have bulk purchase discounts and other rolling discounts available. So I will be happy to discuss it. If anybody wants to get in touch with us, we have an email for partners called success@accessibe.com. So anybody who's interested in that can feel free to reach out to there, and we will get right to you.
Cool. I'm putting these links in the chat here, success@accessibe.com. And I put the partners link there as well. I'll include these in the follow-up email for all of you watching also, and anybody watching the recording, we'll have it listed there too. So fantastic. Another question. By the way, the person who asked that said, that's a definite win for me. So thanks, Rafi. Do you recommend new sites are built to meet certain accessibility standards before using AccessiBe? Or should we rely on AccessiBe being the all-encompassing solution and not give accessibility design much extra consideration?
It's a great question. I think you really don't need anything beyond AccessiBe. You could design a basic Wix website, install AccessiBe, and you would be accessible. That being said, in my mind, I would always want to write my own alt texts, because I want to control exactly what's being said to any potential customer, regardless of their disability. And in general, I think it's a good thing to do. It's also good for SEO. It's good for bounce rate, for site time, all that stuff. So it doesn't hurt. But at the same time, like we mentioned before, building in an accessible way can be very time consuming and expensive. And that being the case, it's, I don't know a more elegant way to say it, but it's your business, it's your decision. You get to determine how you go about it and where you put the effort and where you put more money. And I think that AccessiBe is a different philosophy of how to become accessible. We don't really care about the template, because nobody experiences the template. They experience their session. As long as their session is accessible, you're good.
Great. I think that's a great answer. And I have a question, and we kind of covered this in the happiness hour discussion as well. And I thought it was good to put out on the table, because there is a cohort of people who are saying that solutions such as AccessiBe aren't the correct way to go, right? And there's concerns about that actually bringing in whole different sets of liability and that sort of thing. So could you talk to that a little bit?
Of course. There's a few different reasons that people say stuff. What I will say is, number one, we have a difference of opinion between well-intentioned individuals on both sides. Both parties want to make websites accessible to people with disabilities. We just disagree about what the best way to go about it is. And I think that even our staunchest opponent will agree with us that manual web accessibility work is not feasible for small businesses. It's just not. Until there's some kind of workaround for that, it's really hard to argue with the efficacy of AccessiBe. I would also argue that AccessiBe is vastly different from the other options out there that are free or low cost and that are classed as plugins, because we do vastly different things. We actually provide WCAG 2.1 AA compliance in full, whereas pretty much all the competitors that I can think of either do not, or do that in a manual way that really significantly increases the time and money cost. I mean, it's literally the difference between spending $10,000 to $25,000 a year on web accessibility for a regular sized e-commerce store, or $500. And given the amount of websites that we can make accessible that way, I think that it would be irresponsible not to.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I think that's great. And Melanie is also saying in the chat that she's used several accessibility plugins, and this is AccessiBe is hands down the best solution she's ever seen. So you've got some fans, and and as you know, we also have quite a few AccessiBe users in our community. So people are happy with it. Yep.
Another reason people should go to those meetups.
Yeah. Melanie also made a great comment. She said, first, build it right. Second, follow best practices. And third, cover your butt to make sure, or to stop the drive-by lawyers. So yeah, I think that's some good advice there as well. Thanks, Melanie, for that. Very cool. I don't have, let me check and make sure. Oh, let me see. I missed one Q&A here. Let's see. So does AccessiBe give you recommendations on how to improve your site for accessibility as you go? Kind of like Yoast does for SEO.
So a little bit, yeah. Let me share my screen again, and I'm going to show you our ACE scanner, because our ACE scanner is actually a fantastic resource for everybody. It's completely free, and you can scan any website to figure out if it's accessible or not. You can even scan page by page so that you'll get a really detailed, proper audit of the entire website. And while it may be a little tedious to scan page by page, the average cost in the market right now is between $100 and $200 per page for a manual audit. So if you have a 100-page website, that's already 10 grand, which is not really something that most businesses are looking to spend on an audit that doesn't actually solve any problems. It just tells you what they are. So AccessiBe can provide that automatically. And for our potential partners in the audience, if this is something that you want to use to reach out to your customers, we actually have an option to remove AccessiBe's branding from the PDF report so that you can put your own brand on there. It's also a great way to get a foot in the door with new customers and explain to them, hey, look, you have an issue, I have a solution, let's talk. Of course, I'm sure you do it more elegantly than that, but that's the gist of it. The nice thing here is, of course, AccessiBe is an accessible website, but if you see anything in red, it's going to point out, hey, this is an issue, and then it's going to show you a code snapshot of what is or what isn't okay. So in this case, it's showing you a successful element, but if it shows you a failure, then you look for that, you identify what the issue is, and then you can go fix it. If you see anything neutral, it generally just means that those elements are not on the page.
Cool, very cool. I just shared the link for this in the chat as well, so people can check that out. That's fantastic. Great. I keep saying I don't, and then I forget about it.
We get more.
What is considered a unique page in AccessiBe terms?
So we do unique Google index pages. So we literally will type site:/domain.com into the Google search bar, and the number of results is the number of pages that we go with. We also have an automated scanner. So if you're not sure the number of pages, you can check like that. or you can just buy the standard plan. And then if our scanner identifies too many pages, we'll send you an email asking you to upgrade. In the event that, let's say you have 1,001 pages according to our scan, and you say that you have 900 something, and you have a sitemap and an XML, and you can prove it, we're not going to give you any trouble over that. You know, we try to be as reasonable as humanly possible with all our customers, because in the end, we're both trying to do something good here. But if you have 1 million pages, we can't do the standard plan.
Cool. That makes sense. You mentioned before handling demand letters for clients. Can you expand on that regarding partners clients? So when you're working with an agency partner and their clients then.
Absolutely. So if you're white labeling, it becomes your decision on how you want to handle it, because you get to determine how you want to expose the relationship that we have. We can, you know, you can send us all the information, we can do the audit and get all the information, get the response and send it to you. And you could be the middle person, or you can connect your client to us directly. We're fine with either one. If you're a partner that is not white labeling and it's very clear that you're working with AccessiBe, there's really no reason not to move them directly to us so that we can work that out. But in general, it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days to get these things wrapped up. And in my experience, it's usually less.
Cool.
These people, they generally don't even respond to the demand letter or to our response to their demand letter. And I'm very happy and proud to be able to say this. We have still never had a customer sued after installing our product.
Awesome. Yeah, that's huge. And that goes to Melanie saying that she considers AccessiBe to be the best solution for covering your butt. So, so awesome. Okay. No, we've got another one. There we go. What was the pricing again for partners? And keep the questions coming. We've got time, so you guys ask your questions. I'm happy to answer them.
So partner pricing starts at 20% discounted. So if your standard cost is $490 a year, your partner cost, would be $392 a year. Depending on what years and everything, we may have additional promotions going. We did a Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing of 30% for everybody. So unfortunately, we missed out on that. But we will be having other events soon. I don't know what we're doing for Christmas. And then on top of that, like I mentioned before, we have a partner success program. We also have a partner success team. So it's me and 3 of my colleagues. They're all excellent. You know, any one of them could have filled in for me in this webinar. It would have been great. And they will support you with whatever you need. So if you come to your partner manager and say, hey, you know, I have such and such amount of customers and they're really looking for a specific service, but they really need this pricing. Do you think there's a way that we could work that out? We generally can. On top of that, we do have an affiliate program for those who are looking for more of an affiliate relationship that's a little bit more hands-off. The excellent Ron Regev runs that. 20% recurring commissions that we pay for those as well.
Awesome, fantastic. And we're going to set up after this, and I'll share it in the follow-up email for everybody. We'll set up a discount for everyone in our community as well. You'll get the details on that in the email that you should be getting tomorrow. So if anybody has any more questions, I'm checking everywhere. I think we're good. I think we've got all the questions. But again, Rafi's in the Facebook group. Ron is also in the Facebook group. You can always tag them in there, ask questions. Go check out this recording there and just put questions on it. And I'll tell, hey, Rafi, you've got questions over there. Get over there, answer them. Or use the email that he shared as well. You can do that too. One more question. I heard that the 20% recurring commission is only available for partners who bring 30 clients to AccessiBe. Is that correct?
So it's generally correct, yes. But I will say it's not so difficult to bring clients. My own mother is an AccessiBe partner, and she works in nonprofits with old age homes and such. And I can tell you it is not a tough sell.
Nice. Good to know. Fantastic. Okay, well, I think that sums it up. So thank you, everybody, for watching today. Thank you, Rafi, for your time. And thank you, Chewy, for joining us as well. It's great to have him in the background. And we will see everybody on the next webinar. So thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.